gosh, for almost 20 years now, I've been a real estate investor and property manager. And one of my passions is I love teaching other people how to become investors, and I've helped hundreds of people do so. And in fact, I still teach and taught this morning a class titled How to Create a Pension Using Real Estate. Some of it is using the two of the strategies we're going to talk about today. Now, if you're going to buy a traditional investment property, you got to put a minimum of 15% down, but I always recommend 25% down. But with these two strategies, you can do it for much less money down. And so the first strategy I've always called house hacking because it's been around a long time, but it's also called nomading much more commonly today. With nomading, what happens is you buy a home as your primary residence with as little as 3 to 5% down. You have to live in the home for a minimum of a year, and then you go buy a new home to live in as your primary residence, and you rent out the first home. And then some people redo this every year or every 2 years. They buy a new home, rent out the current one. It's a great way to build up a real estate portfolio. Some of the advantages is you can buy the homes with less down payment because you're buying them as a primary residence. You also get a lower interest rate, which lowers your monthly payment. So there are some real advantages of doing this, of doing nomading. So some of the disadvantages, your mortgage payment is still going to be higher because your down payment is so small, and you're also going to have to pay mortgage insurance, which is why I recommend for my clients, because I'm a really conservative investor, is don't move until you can eliminate the mortgage insurance payment, which may be able to happen as soon as 2 years after your closing date. And then I recommend as well that you get a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, on that house so that you maybe use that money to fund the purchase of the next home or just as a cushion, extra savings account. So it may take 3 or 4 years of living in a home before you buy another one, but nomading can work really well. I also want to just tell you a story. I still remember this to this day. It was probably 20 years ago at a closing up in Westminster. I was up there to meet my clients, to help them through their closing documents, answer any questions for them. And I got there right, before closing, and the sellers were up there, a husband and wife, and the wife was a realtor. And the husband told me that this was they were buying their home number 6 later today, and they were moving every year, and him and his wife were doing the nomading thing of buying a home, living it for a year, buying another home, living it for a year, and they had 4 rentals, and he'd gotten his wife to sell this home before they buy a new home. But at closing, he said, I am just so fed up with moving every year. He had a notarized document drawn up by an attorney that said him and his wife will not move again for another 5 years. And he told me and told the closer of the title company, I'm not signing any of the seller documents until my wife signs this document. So you have to be careful with nomading or house hacking. Is you can only do it for as long as your spouse or partner allows. A couple others tips I want to give you if you're going to do house hacking or nomading is start with lower home prices and work your way up price point wise. Maybe you start with a condo or townhouse and then move up to an entry-level single family home, then a nicer single family home, then an even nicer single family home, but work your way up, because typically the more affordable homes will rent for more money per dollar spent. And finally, something that's really important that most people never think about. If you're going to manage your own rental properties long term, you want to buy homes that are close to each other. I would say within 15 minutes of each other. Because if you buy, say, one home in Highlands Ranch, your second home in Arvada, third one in Southeast Aurora, and the fourth one in Commerce City, you just created a ton of headaches for yourself of trying to manage those properties in such 4 different areas that are so far apart from each other. So I would encourage you not to do that. So we're going to cover House Hacking 2.0 next, but please make comments. Please subscribe to my page because I want to share this with more and more people. So I want to cover what's called house hacking. I call it House Hacking 2.0. And this has been done for decades, okay, in different ways, where people buy a home as their primary residence. Sometimes they're renting out additional bedrooms in the home, and sometimes they're renting out the basement in their home. And so they live there but have tenants living with them. And this has been done for a long time, of where you may have friends or whoever live with you, and right now they may pay you $700, $800 a month to live in one of your bedrooms. So if you buy a 4-bedroom home and you got 3 extra bedrooms, you might make an extra $2,000, $2,100 a month from your tenants. And that can really supercharge your savings or debt reduction. This would be a great strategy if you have a lot of student loan debt, is buy a large home, live in it, and rent out the other bedrooms. Other ideas I've seen my clients do is they buy a home that has a mother-in-law apartment and they rent out the basement. I did that. I lived in a mother-in-law apartment before I got married, and paid money to the homeowner who lived upstairs. So that's just another way to do it. Or I've had clients, I remember 2 brothers who bought a home. They lived in the mother-in-law apartment downstairs and rented out the upstairs because they made a lot more money that way. So there's many ways to do this. And then nowadays, of course, so many people are also doing Airbnb from their house. Now, I don't think I could do that because I don't know that I want complete strangers in my home with me. But I know a lot of people do really well with this. But you just got to realize most cities and counties now have restrictions on Airbnb, of where you have to live in the home to do Airbnb in it, okay? And then when you start talking about, homes like with mother-in-law apartments in them, okay, it usually works out great if you're living there, but if you move out, the city or county may have an issue with you doing that because they may have limits of how many people can live in the home or how many unrelated people live in the home, or they may not allow 2 different households to live in your home. So there's just things you have to look into before you go ahead with doing House Hacking 2.0. But it's a great way, to build up equity in your home if you pay down the mortgage faster. It's a great way to pay off debt or to save money quickly to go buy the next home. So, I'd love to hear from you. Which idea do you like the best? Let me know down below, and then please subscribe to my page, to my channel, and tell others about it. I would love to hear from them too.